Initializing audio transmission. Stand by. Loading Omnus Chronicles podcast. Accessing Starfleet database. Encryption level, Omega 1. Transmission link established. Engaging subspace frequency. Welcome, listener. Prepare for an auditory voyage beyond space and time. The Omnus Chronicles begins now.
Welcome, hello everybody, to the latest episode of the Omnus Chronicles. We have had a bit of a hiatus over the Christmas period, but we're back and ready to go. So yes, in case anybody doesn't know, for all our new listeners, we have our wonderful Captain Karen, and Captain and first officer, sorry. Ross, hello.
Hello.
And I was doing that because he's over there.
Yeah, see, you're there for me and he's there, so yeah.
No, she's
I'm
actually
physically
pointing in the direction
to
I am.
the real.
Like, physically.
Yeah, same room. Awesome. Well, pardon me, it's good to be back. Welcome to everybody. Yes, I have a few things for this episode. So we're going to start with a new segment, which I have tentatively titled Recommended Trek, whether that sticks or not. But yeah, we're going to try and just give a wee shout out to other Star Trek fan groups or people who are doing stuff in and around the internet that you can go and take a look at. And the first one we have today is actually a member of our very own crew who makes our own Star Trek EDM. Her name is Gracie Ann, and she's a very talented young lady. She is getting quite a following on TikTok, I must admit, and I've heard quite a few people using her sounds and her music to their videos, to put along with their videos. So yes, we will have a link, her link tree, which if you don't get the link, it is half Vulcan Girl on Linktree, and that will give you a link to all her socials, including our Spotify, where you find all her music. And yes, I would recommend to go and take a listen, even if you're not majorly into EDM. The lyrics are absolutely awesome.
It is kind of catchy sometimes with some of the songs, because I had I think the most popular one for her at the moment is the Quark's Bar song.
I've found myself singing that quite a few times.
Randomly sometimes it'll just get stuck in my head. I'm like, what the hell? And then I just go, okay, it's fine, you just play in my head, it's okay. And it's just that chorus bit that gets stuck in my head, nothing else, and it's like, okay, it's fine. So it is catchy, and I have also seen other people use her songs on TikTok, and it's quite cool. And the nice thing is that she's not stuck up or anything. She's actually very down to earth and a very friendly person, and very nice when people. She's actually quite surprised when people say that she's good and use her music and stuff like that. And obviously, with her permission, we might put some stuff in here in the video so you can hear it and see it and all of that, because she's started a YouTube channel as well, I think. I don't know.
Okay, awesome.
I remember seeing something about her wanting to do YouTube, and I think that was just for her process on how she actually does the recordings of the songs and stuff, so like the behind the scenes kind of things.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people comment on our videos saying it's all AI generated, and can confirm and guarantee it's not AI generated, but it's a lot of work and effort into this stuff. So it all comes out of her own head. So yeah, would recommend for anyone to go and have a listen. And if we do manage to get permission to use some stuff, and we manage to get it, we will insert it here.
pick your favorite letter of the whole alphabet. I'll put you to the test and show you all you need now is a cue to guide you. Shall prove your worth through games and the obstacles and throw your way out. Make them impossible to overcome without a struggle. All you need now is a cue to guide you. Come to Quarks, Quarks is fun. Come right now and don't walk, run. Come to Quarks, Quarks is fun. Come right now and don't walk, run. Forced to live on a pre-war planet, but I know there's so much more. Immortal creatures, I just can't stand it. Need to go where I've gone before. Shuttles ready, plotting the course to go. Phasers set to stun as we're getting closer to Space Nine. Getting wasted on that course while rolling into adventures like we go. On this day and nebulous of galaxies, the stars and animals stay right running me. Cosmic dust and stage at the Federation. This is as space go.
Hello again. Next section we're going to try and make a regular thing as well. If it works, if it doesn't, we'll just chuck it. It's a wee review section of recommended movies, episodes, things to do with Star Trek, whether it be like I said, movies or episodes, or whether it be Star Trek events that people have went to and they want to come on and tell us a wee bit about it and stuff like that. So yeah, so this week, because of the recent release, I thought we would do section 31. Now, as far as I'm aware, I think I'm the only person here to have watched it. Yeah. So everyone else who has watched it is not on the podcast, unfortunately, today.
They're too good for us today.
But yeah, so section 31, I've watched it. What can I say about section 31 that hasn't already been said by the majority of people? I will say that, in my own opinion, as a standalone sci-fi movie, because I've seen it, it went from Star Trek 31 to Star Trek Section 31 to just Section 31, and then with the wee Star Trek logo down the bottom, as if the Star Trek's a second thought. And I think that's probably the best way to view it, as a sort of a sci-fi movie that just happens to have Trek-like type stuff in it. Trying to review it without giving away any spoilers, I'll say it's a standalone sci-fi movie, sorry, it is, it's alright. Something I'd watch on a Sunday morning, or maybe from like getting over a hangover or something like that, and I just want something to chill out to. It's an alright wee movie. As a Star Trek movie, yeah, it was really disappointing. I don't want to say crap because it's Star Trek. I love Star Trek.
Don't worry, I'll say it for you. It was crap.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, so I'm speaking on behalf of you. It was crap. There you go.
Thank you.
He's watched the reviews of it.
All right,
That
yeah.
doesn't really count,
I
though.
know.
I haven't seen the movie. I've seen the reviews, and it's put me off watching it, so I won't watch it.
Yeah, it was just disappointing. Maybe I expected too much. There's not enough Star Trek in it. I mean, there is Section 31, and there's transporters, and there's Philippa Georgiou from Discovery, and stuff like that. But even Michelle Yeoh in it, I didn't find very watchable. And I love Michelle Yeoh and most of the stuff she does. And I thought, even though a lot of people didn't like Discovery, I thought she was a great character, really interesting, added a new dynamic to it. But in this film, it just fell flat. And as much as I like a crazy Irishman, as much as anybody likes a crazy Irishman in a movie, having a crazy Irish Vulcan was a bit off-putting. So yeah, seeing an Irish Vulcan was just really weird. And I think it'd be the same if it was any sort of noticeable accent other than what we know for a Vulcan. Because I know actors who are not sort of got the sort of classic movie American accent who have put that on for the role of being a Vulcan, and it just didn't sit right with me. There was they went too far into the trying to mix contemporary music in with it, whereas it worked in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek ones. They had Beastie Boys and stuff like that. That worked really, really well. This time it just missed. I didn't think it suited it at all. The whole premise behind it. I mean, I've heard reviews of people saying it was sort of like a Ocean's 11 type movie, where it was where you got a sort of like they're trying to steal something. Do they get it? Do they not? All the stuff that they have to do to get it. And I kind of get that, but it just didn't. It just didn't sit right with me, and it introduced a certain character who is involved with the Irish Vulcan, and that character was a very strange character to bring into Star Trek this late on, and never be mentioned before.
Now I'm curious.
Especially technology-wise. See, I'm trying to do this without giving anything away to anybody. But saying that, the most interesting character and the funniest character and the character who actually made you enjoy the movie the most was the crazy Irish Vulcan, which is really weird. So he played his role really well. He was funny, he was humorous, he was engaging. If he wasn't a Vulcan, I think it would have been down a lot better. That's my 2 cents worth anyway. So it's a Star Trek movie. I would still recommend people go see it, because if you're a lover of Star Trek, I think you should have a look at all the Star Trek stuff anyway, even if just so you can canonically, when you're talking about stuff, you get stuff right. You know what's happened. You know what's going on here and there. But yes, as far of any of my recommendations of should you actually watch it as a film, if you're not into sort of being really geeky about Star Trek, I wouldn't really bother. You're not really missing much. And the way it's set it up for another film, I don't think that's ever going to happen. So yes, that's my 2 cents on Section 31.
The only sense I have is what I've heard from people, and I went onto the interwebs and I found something that was posted on IMDb. So, and I know not a lot of people like that site, but it kind of makes sense what they're saying. Basically, they've said that if Section 31 was given to this particular person to direct, it wouldn't have been as bad as people say, and that is Jonathan Frakes, because he's obviously directed a lot of things for Star Trek, and people have said that if he could have he would have made it good, or better than than what came out now. And I saw that and I thought that was quite interesting to make note of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jonathan is not only a legend in the Star Trek world in terms of playing Commander Riker, but also in terms of his knowledge and of Star Trek and his vision for what he thinks Star Trek should be. And I think that's seen in the episodes that he's done, not only of Discovery and Strange New Worlds, but some of the movies that he's directed with the Next Generation cast and that. And I think he gets better and better as he gets on. And like I said, in Frakes we trust. And I think that's a good point to make. Yeah, I think if they're wanting to do something new with the script, they should have brought somebody Trek in to direct. and try and make it so that the fans would actually appreciate it a bit more. I mean, I have no problems with anybody trying to do something new and something different. I think maybe if we'd had 3 or 4 films leading up to this, we might have went, okay, I'll get on board with this. It was just too disconnected from Star Trek world, Star Trek universe. So yeah, and it was hard to judge for me as well, because and this isn't ruining it for anyone who knows how Philippa Georgiou is back in Section 31 from being in the 31st century in Discovery. She was sent back in time again for reasons that I won't say, because I don't want to spoil if people haven't seen those episodes of Discovery. But yeah, it was still hard to figure out what year she was in, what the time setting was for this, and everything was quite disjointed in that way. You thought because of what happened in Discovery, she would have been sent back to her original timeline of where she came from, but that doesn't seem to be the case because technology doesn't seem to fit in with it. And yeah, it's just a bit of a mess, to be honest. So yeah, there we go on Section 31.
Doesn't sound like fun. I might watch it one day when we're really, really bored and have nothing else to do, and have watched everything else, and it's like, oh, there's nothing to watch. Well, let's put this on. And
Yeah,
I think it was David yesterday, one of our crew members, who said that it's good to have on in the background. So there you go. If you're tired and you need to fall asleep, put Section 31 on and watch it. It might put you to sleep, which is not what we want from Star Trek movies, but it is what it is. And I don't know if he directed it, but I might even say if they didn't get Jonathan Frakes, they could have got Ross's favorite person, who he calls Sir Lens Flares or something, because I'm pretty sure even he would have done a better job with it, because he made the other Star Treks. He made the other Star Trek movies, and they were quite good. The latest 3, and I enjoyed them.
I call him Captain Lensflare, by the way.
Oh, there we go.
and that was Olatunde Usunsanmi. I probably butchered your name, and if I am, I apologise. But yeah, that's who directed Section 31.
Yeah, I gave up on Star Trek many years ago. Well, not many years ago. I gave up on Star Trek after the first season of Picard. I was like, you know what? You screwed me with you screwed up with Discovery, and now you screwed up with Picard. I'm not going to watch anything else from new Star Trek ever again.
But even the trailers for Section 31 were really confusing, and that's why I was like, I don't know if I want to watch it, because the trailers alone were confusing and didn't make sense. And now to hear the movie is confusing and doesn't really fit in, just confirms what I thought.
Yeah, and I'm the opposite. Whereas you could turn around and say, well, Ross doesn't like anything after Voyager, so yeah, that's why he doesn't like Section 31. But I love everything after Voyager, like, you know what I mean? Discovery, although it had its flaws, I liked it. I love Strange New Worlds. Yeah, all the stuff that's been brought out I really, really liked. I just can't quite get on board with this. And it pains me to say that, because I am a massive Star Trek fan, and I will watch anything Trek. But yeah, this just... It was just disappointing. I'll put on the father saying to their son, "You disappointed me." Worst thing I can say.
Star Trek has disappointed us. Tisk tisk.
Yes.
We're not mad,
child
we're
is-
disappointed.
Yep.
And I actually think Ross will like Strange New Worlds, because he's watched a few episodes and he's enjoyed it. So
I watched one episode and I was indifferent towards it.
Well, indifferent is still better than not liking it at all. So there is that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I like it.
I know.
Well, that sort of takes us on to our main topic of the podcast today: what we would like to see in Star Trek moving forward. Now, I like Discovery. I know people don't. I know Ross is really not a fan. But and if you've watched any of our previous podcasts, you'll understand. But yeah, and I get that. I get why people don't like it. I get why Ross doesn't like it. But yeah, I appreciated it for being challenging, but still Trek based. I didn't appreciate it for some of the changes that it made to canon, which were then thankfully erased because it's set in an alternate timeline.
Best Christmas
Or
present
at least the
ever.
shit parts are. And I liked them going into the future, into the 31st century, because I've always wanted to see Trek move forward. Because after Voyager, it sort of stopped. I mean, we have seen Picard, but Picard, you didn't see a great deal of the wider sort of Star Trek universe. It was all based around him and the changing world around him, and how he coped with that and moved on. Whereas Discovery actually took it to a new level. You've seen the Federation after a major incident which almost destroyed it, which devastated the entire quadrant. It was I really enjoyed it to see Star Trek moving forward and seeing what it is in the future. It was really, really good, and I enjoyed it. And I really love Strange New Worlds return to the original Star Trek episodic features, whereas Discovery was always each season with a first episode continued right on to the last episode, whereas Strange New Worlds is episodic with themes running through, and that is absolutely brilliant, and I love it. And I would like to see more of that going forward. I think that's what Trek does best. I don't know what you guys think, but I think that the prospect of individual episodes discussing certain topics, and especially hitting on topics that in our world we are currently going through, but doing it in a sort of futuristic base, is a really good way of doing it and making people think, whether it's having an overall sort of running arc of Star Trek things going through that is just pure fantasy. So yeah, what do you guys think?
My answer will remain the same. I've given up on anything new, so anything they create now is just going to be another disappointment, so I'm just not interested.
Well, I presume that you would love to see Star Trek that isn't a disappointment.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to happen. So.
Okay, well, in an alternate timeline where that does happen, how do you think how would you like to see Star Trek moving forward so it was something interesting to you and people like you?
Just ask if I wanted, or you could just say hypothetically, and then I would be able to answer you.
Okay, fine. Hypothetically.
Stop ruining the shows that were good. Stop ruining the characters would be a good start. So stop weakening the captains like Captain Picard, and turning him into basically a crybaby. Because I've heard about the one season that my brother was talking about.
Season 2.
He was running around going Mimo, Mimo, and apparently that was the most, it irritated them every time they heard that. So that's one. Stop destroying the good captains that we have. Stop making them into like weaklings that need the subordinates to help them through things that are minuscule in life, and have the subordinates. And when I say subordinates, I obviously mean like your first officers and whatnot. Have them know their place would be a good thing. You don't see militaries where people will go out and start shouting at their commanding officers if they're like uppity teenagers to their parents. You do that in the military, you get court-martialed and sent to prison. So yeah, they can start actually making it back to, or turning it back to what Star Trek was, back when it was actually, TNG and things like that, and how those worked. And basically, thankfully, they've killed off some of the canon or they've killed off some of the crap that was considered canon at one point in Discovery, which I'm very happy about, because the destruction of all the dilithium in the universe just was such a stupid idea. It was so dumb. And even the way they conceptualized it was dumb. So that's one good thing that they did, but that's it. They must just stop killing off our good captains and turning them into crybabies.
So basically, instead of resetting things and changing things, you'd rather see more of what we're used to.
Yeah, but they should move forward as well.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I mean, you know what? I don't want to see Strange New Worlds for another reason. It's all back in time. I'm not interested in that timeline. I want to see what happens after The Next Generation, after First Contact, after all of those movies. I want to see what happens after that. I keep getting crap that happened before. I'm not interested in the fact that these writers are unable to write their own stories, so they have to steal from other people. No, write your own stories, create something new, and actually make it good. It's not, if you're not good at it, then you shouldn't be a writer. It's simple.
Okay. And Kez, what about
My
yourself?
opinion.
No, that's and everybody's opinion's valid.
Me, I don't care whether they go forward or backward. I prefer forward because, like Ross, I do agree that they not just going forward with like what happened after stuff, but there's so much you can explore with the other races and the other cultures and the other stories and things that no one really goes into, because it's all just focused on the Starfleet people, which I get because it's called Star Trek, but you could still have like, this is how, I don't know, like I'll stick with it. I've always said it. I want to learn more about the Borg. I want to learn more about the Romulans and the Vulcans and stuff, and have like little stories for them, because they have things that happen while Starfleet stuff is happening. They have their own things that are happening as well, which in essence or sense or whatever the word is that my brain's trying to find, still plays a part in what happens with Starfleet. So you could tie it in somehow. I don't know. That's just an idea, but I do want to go back to the episodes. Like, you can have a main, this is our goal, like, or something bad happened, and like with Voyager, where they were stuck and they were trying to find their way home. That was the main thing that they were trying to do, is find their way home. But every episode was still different. So even though you knew the main thing is we're trying to get home, there were still different stories, and they would still go, okay, well, we've done this to try and get home, or there's this beacon of hope that we can go home and stuff like that. So you don't need to have like with Discovery, and I think Picard did it as well, where one season is just that story and then previously on water. That's just my opinion.
What do you guys think of the main universe taking on the Kelvin universe's destruction of Romulus thing that they've continued on Picard? Do you think they should have left the Romulans alone to develop, or do you think that storyline's something that you would like to see going forward?
I think that's a bad robot mess and doesn't need to be in the TNG, in canon. It doesn't actually need to be part of the canon. It can stay in the Kelvin timeline. I think it's stupid that they even want to try and add it in as part of the canon timeline. They should just leave it out. It's not necessary. I get the destruction of Romulus. I mean, it's intriguing, that it's been done that way, but if they do it, you just know Captain Lens Flare's going to come back and start his crap again, and I really don't want to actually have to watch another movie with his lens flare all over the place. I would prefer to actually just watch Star Trek as Star Trek is supposed to be, as, you know, an episodic space drama. That's what I want it to be. So no, I don't like the Kelvin timeline being incorporated into the original timeline. I think they should keep them separate. Kelvin should be something Section 31 can deal with, because they can jump between timelines. That's fine, but keep it like that. It shouldn't be like brought into this timeline. Just simple as.
Ooh, they can explore the mirror universe. That's something we don't see much movies and TV series about that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, but there's another idea.
Yeah. There's a few TV series and stuff like that, and it's never been touched on in any of the movies. Obviously, it was a big thing of Discovery because of Emperor Philippa Georgiou coming into our universe, and Captain. Oh, I forgot his name now. Of the original Captain of Discovery in season 1.
Who the hell cares?
Captain Lorca, that's it. Gabriel Lorca.
There you go. Captain Who the hell cares?
Yeah. So, do you think that? Because we all agree we would really like to see Star Trek moving forward in their own timeline and what happens in the future of the Federation and stuff like that. Would you like to see it more of the next generation, where they had ominous threats like the Borg and other things? Or would you like to see it more like Deep Space Nine, where there is like wars going on and lots of battles and seeing how that affects people? And what your thoughts on that?
Can't we have a combination of both?
That's cool as well, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, TNG was basically politically based, but also there were the ominous parts that came up in TNG, whereas DS9 was basically just politically based. At the end of the day, I don't mind either. It gives two sides to what Star Trek can be. It shows you that the universe itself is not just based on fight, war, fight, shoot. There are actually, other things that they do explore in Star Trek. So that to me wasn't a bad idea. I didn't mind the DS9 storyline and how it went. When it comes to which one I would prefer, I would always prefer TNG storylines over any of the others, because each storyline, even though it was encased in its own episode, there was always that underlying, maybe you can see something extra, or maybe there's an extra tidbit that is going to show up later on, like Q, who is a constant throughout TNG.
We need more Q.
And that's going to be difficult to reproduce. Thankfully, Q is an entity, so he can change what he looks like, which is always helpful. So there's that. But yeah, I reckon it would be nice to actually have that kind of a layout where it was more TNG based.
Oh, and Star Trek's always been a television show that sort of used its position in the future to explore the human condition in our own time, discussing political and environmental topics and all that sort of thing, and the human condition. Is that something that you'd like to see more of as well, rather than the sort of where Discovery didn't really do that? They just sort of like focused on the sort of one dilemma after the next, one big problem that they needed to solve. Would you just like to see that coming back to the forefront?
I've never really given two shits about politics. Excuse my language. I don't like I mean, I understand the politics of TNG, and I understand at the time that was like there were things that they had to actually address and all that stuff. But to be honest, I don't care. I don't even read into that when it happens. My brain switches off when people start going all political. My brain literally switches off because I've got no interest in that. So I just stop watching, and I'll start doing something on my phone. So I'll ignore the episode. So if they want people to stop watching, they'll put politics into it.
Unless it's Star Trek politics, because that's different.
Yeah, if it's something based on Star Trek and they're not actually trying to push an agenda, then I'm fine with it. But the minute they start trying to push any kind of agenda is when I actually just switch off. I don't care what the agenda is. If you're going to push one, I'm not interested. I want to see Star Trek. You know, I want to. The politics of Star Trek is fine, but that's it. That's as far as I'll go when it comes to politics.
Yeah, see, I've never seen Star Trek. I've never taken it as Star Trek pushing an agenda. I've always seen it as a show to open people's eyes to different things and make people think more than anything else. Through
The old ones were like that.
Yeah, through how the characters react to certain situations and the whole character building of the character development through the episodes, whereas some episodes would focus on different characters and their development. They would bring that into it and make people question rather than forcing any sort of doctrine on anybody. That's how I seen it. It came across to me anyway.
Those were the old ones. They used to do that quite a lot. They used to. It was. If it was there, it was very subtle.
It wasn't in your face.
But the new ones, like in Picard, it was just shoved directly in your face. And by the way, one other big thing about Picard: take the swearing out. When I mean, I don't know what these idiots thought was going. Let's put it differently. I don't know what was going through these morons' heads when they were going, "Oh, we should put swearing in because modern day audiences like swearing." No, you know what? If you're gonna destroy canon, then you'll do that because, as it was said in many of the Star Trek episodes and the Star Trek movies and stuff, they do not swear because they just never found any need to. There was no. They never had that kind of anger to actually throw out, curse words. And I agree with that. There was no point in it. So, my opinion, take the bad language out. It's unnecessary.
There's enough of that in our real world. We don't need it in the shows we watch.
Yes, exactly.
Do you used to think then that was an attempt to try and appeal to a younger audience?
Probably.
It was exactly that. The whole thing was TNG was for younger audiences as well, and Voyager was for younger audiences. DS9, they were all for younger audiences as well. I mean, yes, it wasn't for all ages because there was stuff in those Star Trek episodes that could scare really young children. But they kept it PG because they did want the younger audiences to actually watch. And I agree. Maybe just take it back to that, because if you want the younger audiences to actually, watch your shows, then, don't throw out this horrible language that they tend to use in it. It's just it's jarring. It's really jarring to hear like F-bombs flying every 5 seconds in Picard, because now all of a sudden they've learned how to swear. It's like, no, it's just it just yanks you so quickly out of the Star Trek experience when that happens. That was another problem I had with Picard, was the swearing. Absolutely pissed me off.
Yeah, I get that, and I like the wee bits that they added in occasionally, like in Generations movie, where they're the saucer section in Enterprise D's crashing onto the planet, and Data goes, "Oh shit," and stuff like that. That I thought was hilarious and kind of cool.
And it was so well placed because Data doesn't swear.
Yeah, exactly. Because that doesn't come from him. That's never came from him. You wouldn't expect it from him. So it was a shock when he did, and it sort of made him seem more human in conjunction with the chip that he'd had activated. Stuff like that. Yeah, is all right. And that sort of brings us sort of roundabout in full circle, because I think that's one of the problems with Section 31, is that they have alienated original Star Trek fans by trying to appeal to a younger audience, and because they don't know how to blend the two.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
Absolutely,
They absolutely 100% don't. That's what I could not stand about these new Star Treks. Because if you look at the older ones, look at how the transition between TOS and TNG happened. The TOS fans, they in the beginning they were apprehensive towards TNG coming up. They weren't sure about it, but they watched the first 2 episodes and they were like, actually this is not bad. Let's see where this goes. The first season wasn't great. It wasn't the best season that TNG had. Everyone knows that. But it was definitely a cornerstone to bringing the younger generation in, because when the younger generation watched it, and I was one of that younger generation, when we watched that show, it was like, this is so cool, this is space, this is awesome, I want to do this, yeah, this is, I want to be, I'm Captain Picard, and you play Star Trek with your friends and stuff like that. That's
also, it also makes you then want to go and watch the older stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how they bridge the gap between the old guard and the new generation watching the show. Because firstly, the old guard moved on and said, you know what, they're sticking to what Star Trek is. It's a new era. It's you can see how the characters have actually, or how they've created whole new captains. There's a whole new storyline behind it, and that's brilliant. Instead of going back and I remember, I can't stand the freaking member berries. That pisses me off to no end. You know what? The whole thing is, I didn't care that they were going to make a Picard TV series. You know why? I didn't want to see a Picard TV series. That his generation ended perfectly. At the end of everything. I mean, it was the worst movie ever. That lost. What was it? Star Trek. Oh God, I can't remember. It was one of those guys pull their faces tight. That one. That was.
No, there was Star Trek Nemesis was the one after that.
That's the one. Thank you. Sorry, it wasn't the one of the guys pull their faces tight. Although that wasn't a very good one either. But it's still better than anything that came out recently. But the thing is, when it ended with Nemesis, that should have been it. That should have been the end of. that should have been the end of the next generation. They should have then started moving on to something new. Yes, of course, Voyager was going at the time as well, or Voyager started at the time, but then Voyager ended, like they did. But look at that, TNG ended. Voyager started. What happened with Voyager? It grew into its own show because it was its own show. It was a new ship, it was a new captain, it was a new crew, it was a whole different story. Then they moved on. They played in conjunction with DS9, and so did TNG. The two of them ran in conjunction with DS9. So that was just like a much of a muchness. After that, then it was like, oh, let's go back in time. Let's go back in time. Yeah, let's all go back in time and show everyone what they've already seen. Yeah, that's awesome. No, move forward, not backwards. Anyway, I get angry about this because I don't like the fact that they have no fresh ideas. That Hollywood is so lazy that all they can do is take someone else's story and just go, look, I'm rewriting it for you. How cool am I?
I get that. Yeah, I get that. As much as I like Strange New Worlds and stuff, and I appreciate the wanting to know what happened in the missing eras between different times of Star Trek. I get how frustrating that can be, but not moving forward. Do you think moving forward is harder these days because back in when the original series was shown, that sort of technology was a wonder to people, whereas technology has advanced so much in our own personal lives and is so integrated with our personal lives that it doesn't have the same wow factor? Do you think that sort of has affected how people see Star Trek and sci-fi? I guess
not at all.
They could just come up with new technology ideas, and then we could work towards that in the future. That's what has always happened. Star Trek had the communicators, we got the phone. Star Trek had the doors on the ship, we got automatic doors. Think of, I say they should come up with new technology ideas in Star Trek, and then the people in the world today can aim towards doing it, or medicine. People can in Star Trek can come up with new medicine and curing things, and we can do it today. Why the hell not?
My opinion on this is probably going to be a little more controversial. I'm going to put inverted commas in the controversial part. I believe that they are hiring writers that have no idea about Star Trek, and they're going, oh, we're going to bring a fresh new face to Star Trek by putting someone who's never written a sci-fi or even seen an episode of Star Trek and put them in the writing position. They're going to write the stories now. Yeah, that worked out really well, didn't it? Section 31. That worked out very well, didn't it? Discovery, season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of them. Discovery. It worked out very well, didn't it? Picard. That's what happens when you have new writers that don't pay attention to the old stories. And I believe that they need to start looking at their hiring practices and hire the right writers for the job. People who are willing to actually be creative. Because at this point, there is a lack of creativity. And it's not anything other than the writers. There are plenty of people out there that have brilliant stories. They have brilliant fan-made stories that they actually do. And I've seen some of
We
them.
heard
They're
one.
Brilliant fan-made stories.
We heard one. I'm not going to give it away because it's her story. But another one of our crew members, we heard yesterday, she is working on a story that she made because no one made it. So she's starting to make it. Things like that.
Yeah, so there's no lack of creativity, and there's no, oh well, the technology is advanced, so we can't think of anything in the future. That's a load of bull. Absolute 100% load of bull. How I see it is, I mean, honestly, what about traveling to I mean, simple things like Mars? You know, it's amazing how, and I'm not talking about Star Trek now. I'm just talking about like any kind of sci-fi movie. You know, terraforming Mars. There's a whole bunch of stuff that can do with that. That's still wondrous. You know, finding and finding new alien civilizations as an imaginatory story it's not. People can't say that there's no creativity and that we've got nothing to look forward to because our technology has advanced so much. You know what? Lift your head just a couple of inches. Just lift your head a couple of inches away from that blue light that shines in your
After
face.
you listen to this.
Well, yeah, obviously after you listen to this. Well, even not. You know, you can lift your head now if you're listening to it. Just turn your head up and look at the world around you. There's so much out there, and creativity doesn't come from staring at your cell phone. Creativity comes from going out and being and using your imagination when you go out and you know, like now, parents teach your kids to go and play out in the backyard. Let them get dirty. Let them go dig in the mud. Let them go and do things like that, and let them build imaginary bases with their G.I. Joes and their army men and their Legos, and let them go run in the backyard and make up whole stories, because you know what, those are the future writers. Those are the ones who are going to write good stories. People who've got imagination should be the ones writing these stories, and at the moment the people who are writing these stories have no imagination. All they can do is backtrack to previous Star Trek movies and TV series and episodes and go, well, okay, I'll just copy this one and we'll just do it that way. You know, that's just basically being creatively bankrupt, and people like that do not deserve to be writers, and that's the problem, and that's the problem with Hollywood. That's all they do, and one of the reasons why I despise Hollywood is because they do that. They ruin everything.
How does Hugh feel?
Well, again, big rant.
I know with the original, I hear in some interviews from the original Star Trek writers, they were struggling to come up with stuff. So what they actually did, one of them had the ingenious idea to start speaking to scientists and working with scientists, because scientists have ideas of what is possible that writers might not think of, and writers can think of things that scientists wouldn't think of.
They can put it together in an imaginary way.
They wouldn't have the idea to try and come up with something like that, and that they each sort of challenge each other to come up with something new. And I mean, Discovery did do that. I mean, they come up with programmable matter, which I thought was a really good addition. One of the few. I mean, everything else was a bit like, Well, it's a bit
Who's
like
the idiot who designed the ship? That's my question.
Who's the moron?
Yeah.
Who's the moron who actually had the idea to create a shovel as a starship?
The way the way technology is going today, where it gets smaller and stuff like that, is the route they went down with some of the stuff in Star Trek Discovery as well, because their comm badge is not only a comm badge now, it's a personal transporter, it's a tricorder, they can pull stuff up just like that, and it's like on their sort of in front of them.
I'm so
I'm so glad it's not canon. I really am. Because
That should
that should have been used.
Actually really like.
Yeah, but I get that, but it shouldn't have been used in Discovery. That's just dense. That's like, okay, well, in the past they had better technology than they did in the future. Makes sense?
This is when they moved into the 31st century. So they're like 600 years ahead.
That would make sense, but it's still, I'm glad it's not canon.
Yeah. So and the program is actually really good idea, and ships that could change their shape mid-flight to be able to do certain things, and I thought it was a really good idea, and something that I hope we see more of.
Could have been implemented a lot better though.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think sometimes it's as more technology becomes available, there's the major innovations are going to be less and less. And I know, and I know Star Trek likes to try and keep things on a realistic level. So, like, they always had, they hired scientists or specific scientists to work on the next generation. So in the scripts, they would just say Geordie, and they just put tech jargon, and then the scientist person would write something that made scientific sense. And I think that's becoming harder to do with in terms of stuff that is so far out there. So I don't know if that's it, because they're trying to keep it more real rather than just total sci-fi, just make shit up and make it look really cool, which I think they kind of need to get back to in some way, because that's the way Star Trek started out.
The
whole thing is there's so much science that is or there's so many things that are being discovered, like they've now discovered something about dark matter, and it not actually being exactly dark matter. There is actually something there, because the scientists were studying some sort of a black hole, and they figured something out about a black hole, and it had to do with dark matter. I don't know exactly what it was. I literally briefly read over it, and then I carried on, but there right there is something that they could easily add into a decent modern Star Trek story. And when I say modern, I don't mean modern like let's go back in time and make it look modern. No, I mean a new Star Trek with a new captain, with a new ship, whether it's the Enterprise DEF or whether it's the Enterprise FGHIJK element of P, I don't care. But a new ship, a new captain, a new timeline, something different. They can harken back to the old characters. They can bring Picard in for a cameo, like they did with all the other guys in all the other Star Treks, like with TNG when they brought Kirk in First Contact, and they brought Scotty back in that one episode where they found the Dyson Sphere, things like that. You know, they could do that. They could also do something like, you know, scientists building a Dyson Sphere. You know, that could be something, an episode that they can add in. You see, there's always something new you can do. Just go back to the old episodes and see what they did, and then go, wait, we can actually do that in the future. We can actually have this is how this person did it, and they can show. Then you'll find the maker of this Dyson Sphere, and this person will show how they did it and all that crap. There's a lot of things you can still do, but people just need to open up their minds and be more creative. And maybe, to be honest, maybe these Hollywood companies should start hiring people who are more creative and less bureaucratic. That might be the big thing.
I think a lot of it gets. The unfortunate thing is, writers get bogged down with bureaucracy from the higher ups, who are just, it's all about how much money we can make from it. I think, and you see that a lot in Hollywood these days, that movies fail and TV programs fail because there's too much interference from the people running the company, rather than just letting the people who are writing the episodes and movies get on with what they're meant to be doing best.
That's always
I think that's I think that's part of the problem.
It definitely is.
It definitely is.
Yeah, I think as well, there is, with going backwards, but still going forwards, there is quite a few things that were good about certain series of Trek that have never been followed up on. You had the beastie wee type things that would go in through your mouth and take over you, and they almost took over Starfleet Command. At the end of the episode, they didn't know whether the signal they'd sent had actually got out or not. That's a good one to follow up on. You have people like in Voyager, you have the Vadoir, who Voyager woke up and until they realised they were sort of a sort of fascist state type thing. It was looking to just take over everything and subdue everyone around them. And they've been asleep for a millennia, and everything's changed. But Voyager woke them up. That's something to follow back up on, because that was a good episode as well. So it's not like they can't go back and look at Trek for ideas for the future as well. So that's something I would like personally to see more of as well. Is follow up on good ideas that they never really made much of in previous Trek that everybody actually enjoyed and liked. So I mean, that is technically a lazy way of doing it, but it also sort of ensures that people have a sort of connection to it already, and they're already like, oh, do you know what, I remember that episode, that was really good. Yeah, I'm going to find out what's going on here. Yeah, I definitely want to know what's happening. And people are going to be more into that than just than a lot of random new crap.
The thing is, you can like TNG did. They went back to TOS episodes, and they went, okay, you know, this is a good idea. Let's see if we can create a story around this for this episode. And then we can harken back to other things. I mean, it doesn't always have to be that difficult to actually create something. Look at what they did with Data, and one of my favorite episodes with Data and Sherlock Holmes, when he went back in time, and they all back in time, inverted commas, on the holodeck, and he created Moriarty. You know, that was a bloody brilliant episode. You know, probably one of the best episodes I've seen.
Yeah, and as much as I like Picard, that was one big disappointment for me, was the fact that in the trailer for the third season, you seen Moriarty again, and you were like, shit, what are they going to do this time?
Yeah.
And they didn't fuck all with him.
They just
locked him in a bigger hard drive.
well, yeah, he was the AI in charge of a secure base where Section 130 kept all the crap, and it's like, really? There's so much potential to do so much more. So that, as much as I like that, let's say, as much as I love Picard, that was a disappointment for me. That, but they could have done so much more with it. But
they should really just like now move on. They've killed Star Trek. It's dead. Most people aren't going to watch it anymore. I've seen a lot of people online are just going, you know what, I'm done. You know, I was going to give Section 31 a chance, but I can't. This is just terrible. I'm done. I'm not doing Star Trek anymore. And I don't blame them. I don't blame any of them. You know, they're that disappointed at a show that has, or a movie that promised the world and gave them nothing. They should firstly never have promised the world. Secondly, they should have had better writers. I'm going to say it over and over again. The writers need to be Trekkies. Simple.
Yeah, they need to do something. They obviously want to get new fans into the franchise, but they need to do something that the old fans will turn around and go, yes, I will come back, I will watch that. Because they will. If they do it the right way, the old fans who have sort of lost their way and don't really like it, like yourself, Ross, who don't really appreciate the newer Trek stuff. I'm sure if they done something the right way, you'd be right back in there watching every single episode again.
I would be.
Yeah.
They have to prove that they're not creatively bankrupt, firstly, and secondly, they have to actually show that they're willing to create something new for the new blood, the people who they want to bring in, and still keep the old viewers, watching and going, oh, what's going to happen on their next episode? I'd love to know what creative ideas they came up with. That's what brings people into Star Trek. That's what brings the fans. They don't need to worry if they've got a good story, and this is my problem. If they've got a good story and they've created it well and it's written exceptionally well, they don't need to worry about bringing new fans. They will come. Because if they see it, because if the old viewers see it, or if someone sees it and they go, that was a bloody brilliant episode, you've got to watch it was so awesome, and they explain the whole episode, other people will watch it anyway because they want to actually see it for themselves.
And we know that personally because we have quite a few younger members of our crew who were not brought up on Next Generation or Deep Space Nine or Voyager. They were sort of more the Enterprise and era, and then Trek died down for a bit, and then the new stuff came back. But they've went back and watched TNG and watched DS9 and thought, shit, that stuff's really good.
Yeah,
this is really cool. I want more.
Exactly. So bringing new fans is not difficult. All they have to do is write well. They don't have to find a hook for the new fans. They just have to write Star Trek. Star Trek basically brings its fans just by being Star Trek, because the Trekkies that watch it will tell their friends, and those friends will watch, and then they'll tell their friends, and that's how you get a bigger fan base. But don't ruin something that was actually good, like President Sheer effing Hubris, whatever the freak her name was. That's definitely the way to get people to not watch you. When someone says that, when the commander of Starfleet says that to someone who was as decorated as Picard, it's just like, you are the most insufferable bitch I have ever seen in my entire life. If I could go into Star Trek and actually vaporize you with a phaser, I would do it, because you irritate the crap out of me.
Anyway,
especially with your use of language, the sheer effing hubris. Yeah, you know what? The hubris is coming directly from her, so it was like projection.
Yeah.
But you have no idea how much I hated Picard season 1. I despised it so much that's what actually destroyed Star Trek for me.
We have had a few conversations that haven't been included in the podcast, as well as the ones that have been included. So I have some ideas.
Exactly.
anyway.
So I'll bring this topic to an end, and I'll put the two of you on the spot by asking, if there was a new Star Trek series, what would you like to see? Like, would you like to see it focus on another starship crew? Would you like to focus on something else Trek related, like the origin stories of the Borg? Again, that's come back in time, but something that I've never seen before. What would you guys like to see? If anything, if you could rate it yourself.
Already answered that question.
I think I've answered that one.
All right, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, everything
I think I answered it in extreme depth as to what I think should be done.
Yeah, I suppose a bit of a mute point now I think about it. Yeah,
somewhat. Yeah, a bit of a moot point.
Yeah, thanks for all your opinions and stuff, and hopefully Star Trek forward, because I for one want to be watching Star Trek a new episode every week, if I could. Night of the year, 52 weeks a year for the rest of my life. Awesome.
I would love to go back to where we can watch a new episode a week.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
And you get excited, and it's TV time, it's Star Trek time, like you did in the old days.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best things about when I was a kid was say when I was a kid. I mean, as an older child, I guess, an older teen, was sitting down with my dad and my brother and my sister, watching The Next Generation at night, new episodes coming along, and the amount of people who we didn't know actually watched Star Trek or were that much interested in it came round to watch the last episode was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We're like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's get together, let's watch it. This is going to be brilliant. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be really sad to see then, but oh my god, I'm excited to see what happens.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
yeah, I hope we get back to that again.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Because there's plenty
Yeah,
to
There's plenty to actually still create. So
Yes,
Yeah.
there is indeed. There's indeed. We are only limited by our own imagination.
exactly.
So so the last topic which I was sort of trying to sort of incorporate into this the new sort of structure of the podcast is crew updates. So so yes, if anybody's got this far and is listening, we are the
Good idea.
ISS Omnus. And yes, we are a Starfleet ship, and we are independent chapter, and we are always looking to take on new crew members and build our crew and make new friends and talk about Star Trek, talk about non-Star Trek, just get together and share our love for Star Trek, but make friends in the process.
And even if you're
Um,
part of SFI and you want to join an independent starship, you're still welcome to join us as well.
Yeah, because that's one thing we've mentioned in the past about SFI, but we're no longer affiliated with SFI, so we're an independent chapter now. So yeah, if you would like to join the Omnus, please let us know either through any of our social media platforms, or through comments on this podcast, or any other way that you can find to contact us. If you want to knock on my front door, if you know where I live, just come up and say hi. Can I join, please?
And
But-
for crew updates, I'm gonna do it. We
Okay, cool.
did our, unless you can think of others, obviously, but we had
No,
our
no.
Omnus Awards. Well, the first update, it's obviously been everywhere on our socials, is that we moved away from SFI. We're now independent. That happened within the last few months between December and January, and so that's the big one. And then we've had the Omnus Awards, which was pretty fun, and people were very surprised when they got awards, and it was funny, and it was fun to spend time with the crew. And the big update is that Mr. Hugh is actually the second officer. So yeah,
I know that might
Being
put
promoted
people
to
off.
second officer.
I'm sorry if it does. But yes, I'm very pleased. I was very honoured to be asked to become second officer, and thank you to Captain and First Officer for that. It was an honour to accept, and hopefully I can live up to the role. And if anybody would like to join us on our journeys, as I say, please feel free to get in touch with us. Otherwise, yes, I'll just go down the board. Anything MD would like to add?
Not me.
come join us, come watch us, come listen, come jump on the podcast. Even if you're not part of the Omnus and you want to join the podcast, we welcome you to do that too, and just come have fun with us.
Yeah, if you have opinions on Star Trek, and you want to share them amongst everybody, then yeah, please do feel free to contact us to come on. And yes, but that being all said, I would like to thank everybody for joining us this week. Peace and long life, and take care, look after yourselves, and hope to see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.